Hello guys and dolls, I'm Kellyanne. You're watching Tea and Tarot on the Four Queens YouTube channel, and today, because it's Monday, I'm going in hard. I'm on the Earl Grey and it is actually helping. I've almost finished this cup actually, and admittedly it's not the first one I've had tonight. Earl Grey, what can I say? It's typically English. A lot of people just like to drink it with lemon. I like to bastardise my infusion with a little bit of moo juice. So it's horses for courses, really. Apparently, it's named after the second Earl Grey, who was the Prime Minister in this country a really long time ago, 1830s, I think. And he was given a gift from an exotic place. It was some tea that was flavoured with the rind of a bergamot orange, and basically that's what gives Earl Grey its fantastic flavour. It's pretty indescribable. If you've never had a cup, then I would suggest you definitely do so. Okay, so the subject I'd like to approach tonight with Tea and Tarot is listening to your body. A lot of queerants over the years have come to me with general questions about their health and well-being, and I think that tarot is not often so much seen as a kind of way to explore your health and a way to explore your physical being and your physicality. But a lot of queerants that are kind of old timers with tarot and go to tarot readers quite a lot have found that tarot's messages make quite a lot of sense for them in terms of general ways to take care of themselves, listen to their body more, kind of explore and understand what their body wants from them, when to slow down, when to de-stress, how to relax, and how to listen to their body's needs. So I think that, tarot does have some really great strong messages for physicality and health and well-being and treating yourself right. And obviously, because tarot pertains so much to the four elements, there's this strong suggestion of holistic therapy, complementary therapy, working with the cycles of the earth, appreciating the healing value of water, so that taps into hydrotherapy. Maybe earth would tap more into kind of taking the air, taking long walks, exercising, that kind of thing. I think that all of the four elements in tarot tap into that holistic arena, if you like. But I also think it's important to note that any tarot reader worth their salt will certainly give a strong disclaimer that tarot is absolutely no substitute whatsoever for a medical opinion. And of course, there are certain areas with tarot that we should not go into and that we should abstain from, and explain why we're abstaining from those things. But I think in terms of general suggestions about health and well-being and how to listen to our physical needs, tarot can in itself be quite a fine complementary therapy for people who are on that path and getting to know what they may need and what they may be missing out on or overlooking when it comes to their own body. So I'd like to kick things off tonight with the Hermit, and this taps very strongly into something that Joanna DeVoe was saying a few days ago on her channel, about that oh so popular phrase that spiritual people like to throw around, that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And I love that saying, and so does she. But what she kind of tapped into when she mentioned it was that people often forget or overlook or deny, in a sense, the second half of the sentence. We are having a human experience, and it's the human experience sometimes that's missed out on. We often abuse our bodies, ignore our bodies, don't listen to what our bodies want, whilst at the same time embarking on this transcendental spiritual experience that we give a great amount of weight and importance and power to. And really, a lot of the time, those things don't go hand in hand, because if we don't treat our body correctly, if we don't listen to our body's needs, then we will become exhausted and we will become downtrodden, and we will experience all of these different ailments that come merely as a direct result of not doing arbitrary things that we need to do in order to keep our body ticking over and keep ourselves feeling healthy and fresh and revitalised. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I don't always consider my physical health, and I am a hedonist, and I use and abuse my body, and I don't want to be one of these people that arrives in their coffin looking pristine and having just kept themselves behind a wall of glass their whole lives, kind of thing. I'm in my body to use it, and I'm in my body to have that human experience, but at the same time I am careful with myself. I do allow myself rest periods, I do take care of myself, I take care of my skin particularly, and I listen to my insides. I have a few ailments that come as a result of modern Western living, things like IBS and that kind of stuff. So I have to be careful to an extent what I'm eating, and my IBS is mainly caused by stress. So I have to kind of listen to what my body's saying in terms of what's going on in my life and what could stand to be cut out and that kind of thing. So the Hermit is this guy who's very spiritual, he's on a very transcendental journey, he's going to the core of himself, he's taking himself out of his human life and out of the human sphere of influence, and he's probably spending a great amount of energy and time thinking about his spiritual self and trying to amass spiritual wisdom and ultimate enlightenment. Whilst he's doing this, he may be living the life of an ascetic, living the life of somebody who may be putting their body under quite a lot of strain as part of the spiritual experience, or merely forgetting or denying that they have bodily needs because they are so busy having this transcendental experience and denigrating almost, or undervaluing, or considering the physical world to be not quite as important to acknowledge and consider on that journey. So what I would say about the Hermit in terms of health and well-being is that there comes a point when we need to realise that the dialogue we have with our physical self is obviously important and obviously has a direct correlation and relationship to the dialogue we have with our spiritual self. There is a lot of opinion about this in Wicca in terms of, I mean, I'm not well versed with this kind of thing, but I know that in Wicca it's either in the 13 principles or goals of being a witch, I think it is. It talks about the importance of having a healthy vessel, doing right by your body so that you can do the right things with your mind. And I hear a lot of Wiccans talking about things like that they won't do spirit work or spellcraft or ritual while they're feeling under the weather and generally low on energy or unable to manifest their will in a healthy way because they don't feel healthy physically. And this is the kind of thing I'm talking about, that Wiccans obviously have a decent idea of the fact that this is the vessel they have to work within. This is how they channel the energy. This is the vessel, and the vessel needs to be clear, and it needs to be strong, and it needs to be fortified so that it can kind of harness that energy in the correct way, direct it in the correct way. And I think sometimes tarot cards have a suggestion when it comes to questions of health that it's always best to kind of run with both things at the same time and don't really kind of prize one over the other. The Queen of Pentacles links quite nicely into this, but I also selected her because I think that I needed a card for this topic that would tap into the idea that tarot very much gives us the 4 elements as a starting point for exploring our well-being and heightening our well-being. So things like, earth, air, fire and water, just thinking about all the different ways that they can make us feel energised, invigorated, in touch, healthier, happier, less stressed, more connected to the earth, more connected to our environment. They enable us to get our endorphins raised up, get us feeling just fresher and cleaner and healthier, able, just more alive, more alert, more refreshed kind of thing. So I think that tarot has a lot to give in those ways with the 4 elements when it comes to questions of well-being. I also think that the Queen of Pentacles is very, very in touch with her earthly self. So she's very in touch with her health, she listens to her body, she listens to what her body needs, she understands the foods that she needs to ingest, the foods that she could do with not quite so much of, and she exercises smooth mastery over her physicality. So she's very much in well-being spreads a suggestion of where a querent would like to be and what a querent needs to achieve in terms of listening to themselves and valuing their body's opinion and learning how to listen to that and use that. The 4 of Swords is quite often considered to be an image of anxiety, tension, a bad vibrational energy or a stagnation surrounding the energy, a time of restlessness but ultimate stillness, wanting to proceed but not being able to because one feels kind of pinned down or oppressed in some way. And I think that I selected this card because it has a lot to do with stress. And I think when we are stressed in the modern world with all of the demands that our lives place on us, we often kind of forget to keep in touch with our body, to check in with our body and keep that relationship strong. And a lot of the time when people are stressed, they allow bad habits to evolve into processes and procedures and routines that are not thought about at all. For example, with me, I know that there are certain foods that are going to make me feel unwell and they're going to make me feel not my best, and there are going to be consequences from eating those foods to excess. Those foods that are like high in simple carbohydrate that I don't digest well, that may, IBS is not caused strictly through anything dietary. That's kind of not how it works per se. a trigger, but it's not exactly how it works. It normally involves a variety of things, and for me, IBS is stress related. If I'm completely not stressed in any way and I eat a piece of cake, I may not suffer. If I'm already stressed and I'm already tense and already my body is kind of not working the way it should be and I eat a piece of cake, I'm going to suffer. So I think basically when I'm stressed, or when anybody's stressed, they have these bad habits or this way of avoiding what their body wants, or maybe not taking enough water because we're stressed, so we want coffee, or we're tired, so we want coffee or tea. We want what feels good, you know. We don't want to address the fact that we may be dehydrated and that may be making us feel more stressed or run down. We don't want to address that. We just want to ingest what we want to make us feel better in that temporary moment. Stress kind of cuts the phone line sometimes between our body and our mind. So it's very important when we accept that we're under pressure or we're under stress, to understand that that sometimes cuts that cord of communication between mind and body, and that the stressed version of ourselves may do things, may consume things, may forget to do things that have a real effect on the body and will make us feel worse and will make us feel not as able to process and deal with and rationalise the stress we're under. So basically we perpetuate the vicious cycle almost by, you know, temporarily trying to deal with stress by eating something very sweet, when in fact what we probably need is some of that long-lasting good stuff, that potassium, that energy that a banana gives you, that slow release, that will make you keep right on going until 5:30 when you clock off. You know, we don't think about those things because stress cuts the cord. It makes us want something immediate and instantaneous, no matter what we know it does to us health-wise or well-being wise. So that's something to watch out with, and I think there are a lot of tarot cards that kind of tap into that message. The Ten of Wands obviously is an image of a guy who is under a great deal of pressure. He is taking on a massive responsibility, a huge burden. And this card has many implications that pertain to different things. Like sometimes it can be an image of martyrdom, it can be an image of extreme self-sacrifice and a sign that you need to be more assertive and let people know that you're not going to do all their work for them, that they have to deal with their own crap because you're too busy dealing with yours, this kind of thing. So sometimes it can be about helping a querent realise that they are under too much stress and they are taking on too much, and whether they're doing it for their own sense of ego or they're doing it because they're afraid nobody will do it if they don't do it, the bottom line is this is too much for one person to carry, and realism needs to be placed into the picture really. Otherwise they're just going to break their back doing something that shouldn't be left always only to them. I think the way that this figures into listening to your body and listening to what it needs is pretty obvious. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't take on more than you can manage. It's very dangerous and very overlooked and not really taken that seriously in this day and age, the sheer amount of work that we do, the sheer amount of pressure that we put our mind and body under. And it's almost sometimes seen as a little bit of a prize, you know, how many hours we've spent working that week, or the fact that we've piled study on top of our hobbies, on top of our job, on top of something else, you know. These kinds of things are almost brandished as trophies in a way of how worthwhile we are, if you want to call it that, or how much vitality we have, how much energy we have, how much we can manage. I think sometimes we always try and go a step further than we can do, and I experience a great many querents who come to me who feel a certain guilt about considering and valuing their own sense of well-being, or taking a step back and taking a sit down and relaxing when they feel that they really are at the end of their rope. Just listening to the little warning signs that their body gives out and understanding that they need to be kind to their body in order for their body then to go ahead in the way they want to. They understand that it's a give and take with their body, and sometimes querents feel really bad about thinking this way because they think they should just be able to go on forever. They don't think that it's kind of right to say, hold on a minute, my well-being needs to factor in here and I don't feel well, or I don't feel I can manage all of this. We need to start rationing it out, or we need to start deciding what you can take on because I can't take everything on myself. A lot of people feel guilty for that, and they feel like they should be able to push themselves and they should be able to be that workhorse. But you need to make a deal with your body. You know, you can't just keep ignoring it, because it will keep knocking at that door and it will keep being recalcitrant. It will keep digging its heels in because it's not going to give you constant energy. It's not going to run like that. It needs fuel. It needs to be valued, and it needs to be a give and take, a compromise. You need to put something in to get something out. The King of Cups can sometimes in tarot be an image of excess. And this is again tapping into something that I'm a little bit hypocritical with, but over the last few years I've made it my business to counteract that by understanding the value of compromise and the value of moderation and just chilling the fuck out sometimes too. The King of Cups can sometimes be very into excessive anything. Excessive fun, excessive food, excessive shopping, excessive eating, excessive drinking, drugs, all-nighters, not getting enough sleep. He is Dionysian. He is the king of joy, fun, hedonism. He has a lust for life. He has a lust for beauty, for exuberance, and for pure, energetic craziness. He appreciates that kind of thing, and sometimes he can go too far, and sometimes he needs to rein it in. He needs to realise that he is going to be washed out and dried up if he doesn't give himself some quiet time to contemplate, to value his body, to value his mind, and to not kill all of his brain cells off slowly by not taking any time to just relax and be in that quiet space and give himself that refueling and that nurturing, that nourishment that he needs. There's absolutely nothing wrong with full-on hedonistic balls to the wall living. And of course, for a lot of people, that is part of the spiritual experience as well as the human experience, and that's fine. But moderation is something that this card sometimes speaks of strongly when it comes up in a warning position, and the king can sometimes go too far. So if you're doing anything to excess, or you're falling into habits like I was discussing with the Four of Swords, where you know you're doing something to excess, but it's become so much a part of your everyday routine that you almost feel you don't need to accept it or you don't need to address it. It's under the radar and that's how you like it. Drag those things up to the surface, admit to them, and start to kind of take yourself through them a little bit. Because there are a lot of underlying stresses and triggers and problems that occur as a result of going to excess in a way that's become normalised, in a way that you no longer really admit to yourself. And I think it's okay to use whatever you have at your disposal, tarot included, as a tool to get yourself thinking about ways in which you are maybe taking yourself to the brink. And it's okay to bring yourself back and to have that period of silence or that period of adjustment, that period of placing your well-being, your physical well-being first. And once you've re-energized and you've refueled and you've had that time to relax and show your body some respect, then you can go back out and, as William Blake said, the road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom. If that's how you want to roll, that's fine. But you need to, as I said, make a deal with your body. Talk to your body, because your body will start screwing you over and treating you badly if you don't treat it with some respect. So there needs to be that compromise there. You are only getting to enjoy everything you enjoy in life because you are in this vessel. So treat this vessel with some respect, and it will last all the more, and it will do all the more for you. So the last card that I selected for listening to your body is the Star. And as anybody who understands tarot will know, the Star does have a great theme of healing. Healing, retreating in a sense, having that period of calm and gestation, meditation, listening to what's going on, less talking and more observing and listening, and appreciating intrinsically and organically, deep down inside, the relationship between what houses what you are and what you are. The transcendental and the physical need not run parallel lines. And at some point in the meaning of the Star, this idea comes to fruition, and there is this great sense that you are doing something beautiful for yourself inside and out, because the two are having a relationship and they are talking in sync. They are having a conversation instead of riling against each other and battling against each other. So there's a great theme of healing in the Star, and querents need this card and other cards like it to come up so often, and when they do, I really get into the meat on that bone, and I really say, look, it's time for healing, it's time for reflection, it's time for you to make a few changes, and don't feel guilty about that, and make sure that you invite that healing into your life, and make sure that you make it a thing. Not just like, oh, I need to take a little nap because I'm feeling a bit out of it and then I'll be back to myself. No, make it a thing. Make it an elongated, planned, scheduled thing where you decide that you are going to relax and you're going to take your time and you're going to get back in touch with your physical self. That's all for now, guys. Thanks for listening.